Hi, thanks for joining me for another video. I am sitting here in my rig, but I'm not going to be doing any racing today, and the reason being is because a few people have asked me what chassis I've got here that I bolt all of my sim crap to, and the answer is it's an RSeat RS1. So I've had this for 2.5 years now, so I thought it might be a good time to actually make a little bit of a review about it. Now, I'm not sponsored by RSeat at all, so all of the opinions in the video are based on my experiences over the last 2.5 years. And the other thing I'm not going to do is do a load of fancy beauty shots. So I'm going to shoot the rig in situ with manky carpet and the backdrop and bits of fluff and dust and bad cable management, so you'll have to excuse all that. It's going to be a bit of an impromptu video, but I'm going to try and describe to you my experiences with this rig, and if you are thinking about buying one, hopefully it will help you make the decision. Stay tuned. So one of the reasons why I went with the RSeat was that it's quite compact. I don't have a lot of space here because I'm basically set up in the smallest room in the house that isn't occupied by a toilet. So it was important that the rig have a small footprint. This thing measures around 160 centimeters long by 80 centimeters wide, so it fits nicely into a corner, and the key thing here is that its width is quite narrow, so within this space I can easily slot it in somewhere and still maneuver around it. The chassis is mainly constructed from this thick, heavy steel tubing that's welded together to create a really strong platform. The quality here is it's really top notch, to be honest with you. It's obvious that these guys really gave this thing a lot of thought. So most typical rig configurations will support the wheelbase from both sides. However, the RS1 has this quite interesting asymmetrical design where the supporting tubes only run down the right hand side of the frame. This leaves one side open, making it easier to climb in and out of the rig. Fortunately for me, I've had to put that side up against the wall here, but it's easy enough to get in and out from the other side. There is one aspect of this design which could be considered a good or a bad thing, and that's flex. If I manipulate the wheelbase here, and I'm giving it quite a lot of stick, you can see that this movement is being transferred through the chassis into the seat. As well as that, any forces given out by the wheelbase also affect the shifter, so the whole rig basically moves in line with what the wheel is doing. The same is true as when shifting. Any mechanical force that I put in during gear shifts gets transferred into the chassis, and I feel it in the seat. Now, quite frankly, I think this is quite a good side effect of this design, because some of the steering feedback that I feel through my hands also propagates through the whole rig, and I feel them in the seat and in the shifter, providing of course I've got my hand on it at the time. So shifter movement, particularly with H-pattern cars, also gives a positive jolt through the seat. It makes the whole rig come alive, and it's particularly prominent with more abrupt feedback, such as driving over curbs, and feeling curbs through your butt is a real immersion booster. So regarding the comfort, we're pretty much talking about the seat and how well the various aspects of the rig can be adjusted. So starting with the seat, this is a bucket style seat, so it doesn't have any back angle adjustment and features quite deep bolsters, which looks great, but it can hinder elbow room if you want to mount peripherals along the side of the seat. Personally, I'm not bothered by this, and I find that the deep hug of the seat really aids with the immersion. So the seat's mounted on rails just like it would be in a typical car, and it can be moved back and forth with this pull bar. Just lift up and the seat can be moved. There's also quite a lot of travel here too. A nice aspect about the mounting system is that the shifters and flight controls move with the seat, so your reach distance never changes no matter where you move the seat to. Additionally, the seat can be mounted in a couple of different height and tilt configurations via these bolts here. So there's one at the front with 3 positions, and one at the rear with 2 positions. So I've got mine set to the lowest at the back and the highest at the front, which gives me a nice laid back GT position. The seat itself is covered with this leatherette type stuff. I believe you can also get them covered in Alcantara, but I guess that would cost more, and there's also a few colour choices as well. The seat also sports this really nice embroidered logo, although the Eat the Competition motif is a little bit cheesy for my liking. Now, I find the seat pretty comfortable. As I said before, it gives me a really good immersive feel. I did have to modify one of the cushions because out of the box it didn't have enough lumbar support. So this one down here was a little too flat. Modifying this was easy to do as the cushions are just velcroed into the seat so they can be removed and, stuffed good and proper, which is what I did here, and now I find the comfort's really good. So moving on to the wheel mount, there's a couple of adjustments here. The bottom joint here can be used to alter the height of the mount, and the top joint can be used to alter the pitch. Unfortunately, there's no way to adjust the distance. So moving down to the pedals, they're mounted onto this deck, and the deck can be manipulated in both reach and pitch. The reach is adjusted by slackening off these two nuts here, which allow it to slide around in these slots. And then the angle of the deck can be manipulated with this joint here. So if you undo that, and obviously the one on the other side, there's 4 preset holes in which you can set the angle. Of course, the angle and position of the shifter can also be adjusted by manipulating a series of joints on the bottom of the arm here. So I've slackened off this so I can show you how it moves. So you can set this to pretty much any reasonable angle that you want. So in order to talk about compatibility and add-ons, I've come over to the RSeat website at rseat.net, and they've got a really good website actually, lots and lots of pretty pictures for stupid people like me to understand. So I'm just going to run through a couple of the sort of things here on the site. For the RS1 anyway, these are the various color options you can get, so there's various combinations of white, black and red. As well as that, you can pick up some special editions. So we've got the Seto Corsa special edition with various different color accents in there, and the Alcantara versions of the seat. You can also buy the frame only. So if you're not in the market for a bucket seat and you want something with some back adjustment, for example, this might be a good option for you. As well as that, we also have compatibility with motion rigs. So these D-box systems that the RSeat can just drop straight on top of. You've got a 4 actuator version and a 3 actuator version. Now I think these things are horrifically expensive. I believe that there's better or comparable motion rigs on the market available at the moment, such as the DOF Reality stuff. That's far more attainable for, you know, poor people like myself. So just dropping into the bump for the RS1 here, if we go down and look at the supported section, this will tell you everything that you need to know, or everything that the chassis can actually accept natively. So I'm not going to read them all out, but you can kind of see there that there's quite a lot of stuff supported. Pretty much the entire Fanatec ecosystem is supported there, as well as all of the common Logitech wheels. Obviously the DD1 and DD2 are. This chassis was actually conceived before the DD1 and DD2 came out, but Fanatec kept their mounting points the same, which meant that it was immediately compatible. Just rolling back up to the top here as well, we've also got quite a large array of Thrustmaster gear, which is supported too. So currently the RS1 is retailing at around €600, and then that will get you the chassis, the seat, and this shifter mount here, the standard shifter mount. Then you can basically add on extra stuff if you need it. We can put quite a number of things onto the RS1, starting with this butt kicker tray, which sits under the seat here, and you can mount a couple of butt kickers to it. We've also got a button box and a sort of tablet mount, which there's a couple of screw holes just behind the wheel mount, and that will allow this arm to attach there and then swing out to a position that's next to your steering wheel, so you can have your button box and perhaps a tablet or another monitor or something next to the wheel. Then you can also add a keyboard and mouse tray, which mounts halfway down the main support beam. We've also got these speaker brackets, which will sort of mount in various places around the rig if you want to use external speakers. And then finally we have the Pro Shifter Kit, which consists of another joystick and throttle mount, mainly for sort of HOTA systems. I think these are pre-drilled for the Thrustmaster Warthog. I've actually got this setup, so I'll talk about that in a minute. So this is basically what came in the box. It's a fairly simple thing to assemble. I think it only took about an hour, maybe even less than that. It really didn't pose a problem whatsoever. All of the tools and the hardware to assemble it are provided, and they actually give you 2 big bags full of extra M6 and M5 bolts and nuts and things if you lose any, or if you want to add more stuff on in the future. Now, as I play some flight-based stuff or space-based stuff now and then, I bought the Pro Shifter kit, which consists of the 2 additional bar things. They attach via these tubes, and there's another one on the other side, which is currently holding the Fanatec shifter. So this kit is drilled for the Thrustmaster Warthog. You can see the bottom plate there is designed for the throttle assembly of that particular system. And this, actually, this is the plate this is the standard one that you get with the chassis. The one meant for the Warthog joystick is over there with the Fanatec on it, but the mounting points are exactly the same. Now, obviously, my Thrustmaster T1600 doesn't mount directly, so I've created these MDF adapter plates, which was pretty easy to do. So these basically mount onto those tubes that I showed you earlier on, and there's an M6 bolt there to secure it. The gear itself is secured underneath with M5 bolts. So if I wanted to configure the rig for flight, it's a simple case of removing the shifter mount and replacing the HOTAS controls. It would be more convenient to have it all mounted at one time, and really all I'd need to do to achieve that would be to come up with some kind of mounting solution that can handle both the shifter and the HOTAS throttle. But I can't be asked for that at the moment, so I prefer to have the rig focus for one specific thing at a time. It's not exactly hard to do. It only takes about 3 minutes or so to actually swap all this stuff over. I will probably come up with a solution where I can mount the lot in one go at some point in the future. Right, so I hope you found that informative. I certainly like this rig. I would recommend it if you are in the market for a chassis that you're maybe starting out and you want something pretty cool. This was my first chassis. It's certainly a good solution for a compact space. If I had more space, I would probably have an extrusion style rig, simply because they're more configurable. But you know, I really can't fault this thing. In the video, the flexible nature might put some people off, because there is quite a lot of movement in the rig itself, but it tends to involve the entire rig, not just one part of it. So it's not just one weak point that's flexing on its own. It's the whole thing is becoming a mechanism of communicating movement from the wheel or from any kind of input that you put into the rig itself. So I think in that sense it's really, really good. Anyway, I'm going to wrap the video up there. Hope you liked it. Thank you very much for watching. Any questions, comments, or whatever, drop them in the bit below the video, and I shall see you next time. Ta-da!